Hello, good morning, everyone. I am teacher Eric, and as of the moment, I am pursuing for my Master of Arts in English language teaching. And this is under for my preparation of instructional materials. So this time we will be having our new lesson, which talks about evaluating speech. But before anything else, I will be presenting to you the following objectives. The students will be able to first analyze and interpret a primary source to gather information about speech. Second, evaluate speech in its type. Third, differentiate speech point of views. And of course, the last, students will be able to create speech. So are you all ready? Very good that everybody is ready. So at this juncture, did you know this man? So anyone who has an idea, for sure this is familiar to you. Any guess? Yes, Maria. A celebrity, is it? Another I guess, please. Yes, Mario. He is an actor in the US. Mhm. Another idea, please. A politician. Yes, he was a politician. But to deep more understand about this person, then all right. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States of America. So, to talk about his biography of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, well, let's start first to his early life. This was the picture of his family together with his siblings and, of course, his parents. He is the second of the nine children. Kennedy was reared in a family that demanded intense physical and intellectual competition among the siblings. He schooled in the religious teaching of a Roman Catholic Church and the political perspectives of the Democratic Party. On this picture shows his father. Joseph Patrick Kennedy had acquired a multi-million dollar fortune in banking and film industry as a skilled player of stock market. This would be his mother. His mother Rose was the daughter of John F. Fitzgerald, once mayor of Boston. They established trust funds for their children and of course guaranteed lifelong financial independence. This was the moment when he entered in the US Navy. In the fall of 1941, Kennedy joined the US Navy and 2 years later was sent to the South Pacific. All right, now let's talk about his education. This picture shows his education when he was still having his studies. Despite his father's constant reprimands, young Kennedy was a poor student and a mischievous boy. He attended a Catholic boys' boarding school in Connecticut called Canterbury, where he excelled at English and history. Another thing is, um, after graduating from Choate and spending one semester at Princeton, Kennedy transferred to Harvard University in 1963. There, he established academic pattern. This is the moment when he begins the politics, or in other words, entering in politics. John left Navy by the end of 1944. Less than a year, he was back in Boston preparing for a run for Congress in 1946. He won his party's nomination handily and carried the mostly working class 11th district by nearly 3-1 over his Republican opponent in the general election. He entered the 80th Congress in January 1947 at the age of 29. John F. Kennedy won re-election of the House of Representatives in 1948 and in 1950, and in 1952 ran successfully for the Senate position, defeating the popular Republican and convenient Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. Now, this would be John F. Kennedy's road to presidency. After nearly earning his party's nomination for vice president under Adlai Stevenson in 1956, Kennedy announced his candidacy for president on January 2, 1960. In November's election, Kennedy won by the narrow margin, less than 120,000 out of some 70 million votes cast, becoming the youngest man and the first Roman Catholic to be elected President of the United States. This was happened during assassination. On November 22nd, 1963, the president and his wife landed in Dallas. He had spoken in San Antonio, Agustin, and Fort Worth the day before. From the airfield, the party then traveled in a motorcade to the Dallas Trade Mart, the site of Jack's next speaking engagement. This shortly after 12:30 in the afternoon. As the motorcade was passing through downtown Dallas, shots rang out. Kennedy was struck twice in the neck and head and was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at a nearby hospital. Now, what have you learned from the biography of John Fitzgerald Kennedy? Yes, Mario? Okay, so it was the life of John F. Kennedy was tackled okay, during his early life until he reached to be the 35th President of United States of America. So, any other idea? Have you inspired with his life? Yes, Nicole? All right, exactly. So, um, his story was so very inspiring because despite of his despite of the challenges he have been through of before he reached to be the president of America. So we don't know any one of you here would also be the next president of the Philippines. So just hoping and praying to be pursuing your dreams in life. So as of the moment that you are still young learners, so just be good when it comes to your academics. Of course, would also reflect to your behavior. So it's very essential that the attitude of a person should also be pleasant, as well as how he encounters or interacts with the community. So at this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, my dear students, we will be reading his famous speech. But before that, I would like to unlock the difficulties of the words you may found when you read, or we will be reading the speech later on. Okay, so let's unlock the difficulties. These are some words found from his speech. Okay, so the word sworn. Again, sworn. So any one of you here who has an idea to what sworn is? Yes. Mariami? Is it? Another idea, please. Okay, very good. Now, when we say sworn, this is a testimony or an evidence given under oath. So, um, this will be further tackled later on when we uh, read the speech of Sir John Kennedy um, speech. So another word is okay, forebears. So another yes, um, April. Very good. When we say forebears, this is the ancestors. So this would be the people or our grandparents. Okay, so the people existed before us. So ancestors. Next will be all right, ears. Ears. And I mean, anyone from the class who wants to volunteer or share his ideas about this word? Okay. When we say this word, it is a person inheriting and continuing the legacy of predecessors. So, say for example, you will be you will be receiving the legacy of your parents. So you are a predecessors of the legacy that your parents will be left to you, if ever in the future. Next, all right, food, food. All right, very good. A person who feels enmity, hatred, or malice toward another. Or in other words, it's enemy. Okay? So for sure, we have experienced this kind of situation that, you know, we have, I mean, there are people who insisted to hate us, even though we did not do something bad, but it's part of the community, or it's part of our lives, or it's part of our cross, that there are really people who hate us despite of um despite of remaining who we are. But anyway, this is just a further example, and we will be tackling or knowing this one when we read the speech of Sir Kenny. Okay, next, odds. Odds. Okay, very good. Superiority in strength, power, or resources, or an advantage. So when we say strength and power, so it could be um, through politics. So say for example, if you are well known. Say, for example, the president of the Philippines, he has the power to declare certain policies if he would exceed the school year, academic school year for next year, or when will we start? I mean, when will be the next school year started, or anything, or strength. It could be um, anyone who has money, or anyone who has the power or advantage to this certain um, situation. Next is all right, tyranny. Tyranny. So, any one of you here has an idea to what this word is? Yes, Maria Angela. Very good, Aunt Maria Angela. What was it, tyranny? An act or pattern of harsh, cruel, and unfair control over other people. So from the word unfair control over other people. So it could be, say for example, the late President Ferdinand E. Marcos, when uh, uh, he was known as the dictatorship when during his term. So tyranny, there is unfair control or cruel control towards people. Okay. Next is adversary. Okay, so adversary. So what this word means when we say adversary? Yes, Kanji. Very good. It is this is one's opponent in a contest, or it could be conflict or dispute. So say for example, in a certain um, uh, war, there is conflict, or it could be in a competition. There is competition between one person to another. Okay, understood. All right. Now let's have another word. Mhm. Okay. Overburdened. Overburdened. All right. So yes, Maria Nicole, and all right. Yes, exactly. This is load someone with too many things to carry. Okay, so say for example, he's um very tired and hopeful um because of his because of many challenges he carried or he carries because of pandemic or any situation or scenarios may apply. Okay, so next is engulf. Engulf. So what's this word is? Yes, any volunteer please? Another hand? All right, yes. Margin, is it? Okay, who wants to help margin? Yes. April, Jade. All right, exactly. So this is to surround or cover it completely. So you are so swept over. So you are covering um something out of the conflict. So say for example, sweep over something as to surround or cover it completely. So say for example, your friend Angela has been accused of you know stealing something from the library or anywhere in the school campus, but then there's found out the evidence to fully cover that he is not the one who stole that thing or anything. Say, for example, you are going to cover him from the bad news or anything that is unpleasant. All right. Another is palaver. Palaver. So what's this word mean? Okay, very good. Argue or elaborate in excessive detail. So you are going to elaborate with specific details and sources. Next is okay. So those are the 10 words to unlock your difficulties. So those words will be encountered as we are going to read his speech. All right. So this time we're going to read John F. Kennedy's speech. You have to bear in mind with me, and of course, you have to listen carefully because this is very important that you are going to evaluate a certain speech, and this time you yourselves will do so. Okay, so John F. Kennedy, presidential inaugural address, delivered last, I mean, yes, this is January 20 of 1961. Let's start. We observe today not a victory of party, but a celebration of freedom, symbolizing an end as well as a beginning signifying renewal, as well as change. For I have sworn before you and Almighty God the same solemn oath our forebears prescribed nearly a century and 3/4 ago. The world is very different now from man holds in his mortal hands the power to establish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life. And yet the same revolutionary beliefs for which our forebears fought are still at issue around the globe. The belief that the rights of man come not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God. We dare not forget today that we are the heirs of that first revolution. Let the world go forth from this time and place. To friend and foe alike, that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans. Born in this century, tempered by was disciplined, a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed, and to which we are committed today at home and around the world. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, and support any friend, oppose any foe, to assurance the survival and the success of liberty. This much we pledge and more. Those old allies whose cultural and spiritual origins we share. We pledge the loyalty of faithful friends. United there is little we cannot do in a host of cooperative ventures. Divided there is little we can do, for we dare not meet a powerful challenge of odds and split asunder. Those no states home welcome to the ranks of free. We pledge our word that one form of colonial control shall not have passed away, merely to be replaced by a far more iron tyranny. We shall not always expect to find them supporting our view, but we shall always hope to find them strongly supporting their own freedom, and to remember that in the past those who foolishly sought power riding the back of tiger ended up. To those people in the huts and villages of half the globe, struggling to break the bonds of mass misery, we pledge our best efforts to help them themselves for whatever period is required. Not because the communists may be doing it, not because we seek their votes, but because it is right. If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich. To our sister republics south of our border, we offer a special pledge to convert our good works into good deeds in a new alliance for progress to assist free men and free governments in casting off the chains of poverty. But this peaceful revolution of hope cannot become the prey of hostile powers. Let all our neighbors know that we shall join with them to oppose aggression of subversion anywhere in Americas. And let every other power know that this hemisphere intends to remain its own house. To that world assembly of sovereign states, the United Nation, our last best hope in an age where the instruments of war have far outpaced the instruments of peace, we renew our pledge of support to prevent it from becoming merely the forum for invective, to strengthen its shield of the new and the weak, and to enlarge the area in which its writ may run. Finally, those nations who would make themselves our adversary, we offer not a pledge, but a request that both sides begin anew the quest for peace before the dark powers of destruction unleashed by science engulf all humanity in plan or accidental self destruction. We dare not tempt them with weakness, for only when our arms are sufficient, beyond doubt, we be certain beyond doubt that they will never be employed. But neither can two great and powerful groups of nations take comfort from our present course, both sides overburdened by the cost of modern weapons, both rightly alarmed by the steady spread of the deadly atom, yet both racing to the altar that certain balance of terror that stays the hand of mankind's final war. So let us begin anew, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness, and sincerity is always subject to proof. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Let both sides explore what problems unite us instead of belaboring those problems which divide us. Let us both sides, for the first time, formulate serious and precise proposal for the inspection of control of arms, and bring the absolute power to destroy other nations under the absolute control of all nations. Let both sides seek to invoke the wonders of science instead of its terrors. Together, let us explore the stars, conquer the deserts, eradicate disease, tap the ocean depths, and encourage the arts and the commerce. Let both sides unite to heat in all corners of the earth the command of Isaiah to undo the heavy burdens and to let the oppressed go free. And if each head of cooperation may push back the jungle of suspension, let both sides join in creating a new endeavor, not a new balance of power, but a new world of law, where the strong are just, and the weak secure, and the peace preserved. All this will not be finished in 100 days, nor will it be finished in the first 1,000 days, nor in the life of this administration, nor even perhaps in our lifetime on this planet. But let us begin. In your hands, my fellow citizens, more than mine will rest the final success or failure of our course. Since this country was founded, each generation of Americans has been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty, the graves of young Americans who answered the call to service around the globe. Now the triumph summons us again, not as a call to bear arms, though arms we need, not as a call to battle, though embattled we are, but a call to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle, year in and year out, rejoicing in hope, patience, and tribulation, a struggle against common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. Can we forge against these enemies a grand and global alliance, north, the south, east, and west, that can assure a more fruitful life for all mankind? Well, you join that historic effort? In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the rule of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it, and the glow from that far can surely light the world. So, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Finally, whether you are citizens of America or citizens of the world, ask of us here the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you, with a good conscience, our only sure of reward, with history the final judge of our deeds. Let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking his blessing and his help, but knowing that here on earth God's work must truly be our own. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the speech of Sir John F. Kennedy. So I hope you were able to listen every words, and then as you can see, the words that we have discussed earlier have came out. Okay, so as an application, what is the main message of Kennedy's inaugural address? Anybody from the class? What is the main message of Kennedy's inaugural address? Yes, Maria? All right. So, the main message of Kennedy's inaugural address is, of course, to enlighten his fellow Americans, to be aware of what is happening in their society. Okay, so to be relevant of what is existence and out of those conflict. Okay, so to be aware of what is happening in the society and of course be involved in facing those challenges. Very good. Next, what is the purpose of an inaugural address? Anyone? Yes. Um, Mark Louis. All right. Exactly. So the purpose of an inaugural address, of course, is to have um, the Americans or his fellow Americans um, know or notice that his plans would be this one, his future plans would be this one. And then he also stated that um, let us not ask America to do for us, but instead we Filipino Americans should have do an action to have a better America. So as you can see now, America is the richest country of the world because of because of their hardships and what they have been throughout the years. So the purpose of his inaugural address is to inform the Americans that they have to be involved in doing or developing in achieving progress to their country, America. All right. Next, what value does Kennedy emphasize most in his speech? So, what do you think? So, the value he emphasized on his speech. Yes, Patrick. Okay, so his fellow citizens, right? Exactly. So he mentioned for many times fellow citizens. Those were made or mentioned to make his fellow citizens into a good hands. Okay, so out from the conflict of war of what their ancestors or forebears have been through out the years. So he wanted change that out of um, conflict when he was still young, he have been um, into or even experienced the struggle of his fellow Americans. So with his speech, he wanted that everything will be in good fortune and out of conflict when it comes to his fellow Americans. There's no judgment. There's no criticisms from his fellow Americans, to these Black Americans, and then against to the um, Americans, white Americans. Okay, so how does Kennedy connect the present to the past of the beginning of his speech? All right, so yes, volunteer, Nicole. All right. So when we say when we talk, yes, actually, it's right, Nicole. Thank you so much, Nicole. Um, when we talk about his speech that he mentioned um, the struggle on the first part of the speech, the struggles that they have been into for a couple of years or a quarter of years or century. He wanted it to be uh, changed. That he wanted to be America a better place for his fellow Americans. He connected the past happenings to what is on the present, and he hopes that this will be um, become a better Americans or in the future. So he connected the past they've been through, the present, and what will happen in the future. So that's now let us answer the following questions. Okay. First question: who is we President Kennedy refers to in his speech? Anyone from the class? All right. Yes, Patricia. Very good. We refers to his fellow American citizen. Exactly. So the purpose of that speech was really towards his fellow Americans. Next, question number two. Kennedy considers one group of countries to be in a special relationship with the United States, a group that we will defend against any attackers. What countries are they? So what do you think that country he referred to on his speech? Yes, John. All right, of course. Yes, very good. Thank you so much, John. Yes, he was referring to their country, Americas. Okay, so country America. Next, what was JFK's or John Fitzgerald Kennedy's definition of freedom? So, what do you think? So, his definition when it comes to freedom. Yes, Angelo. hmm Yes, very good. So thank you so much, Angelo. Now, when we say freedom, of course, when this was mentioned during when we have read his inaugural speech, that freedom should be, you know, um, to his fellow countrymen. Like there is freedom when it comes to um, freedom of speech. Okay, so when it comes to their culture, when it comes to their nationality, and there should not there should uh, be no criticisms at all. In other words, freedom to everyone who could access and live with um, with no fear from themselves. All right. Next. Okay. At the end of the speech, what does Kennedy urge his fellow Americans to do? So, what do you think? At the end of the speech, John F. Kennedy wanted to his fellow Americans to do. Yes, Maria May. Very good. Okay, so he wanted to act and be involved to have change from the past. Okay, so very good. Thank you so much for your cooperation. So this juncture, um, let's have activity. So for your activity, the answers of the Miss Universe 2018 top three candidates on their final questions. You will reason out your sentiments about how these gorgeous candidates have answered the final questions. Write it in a sheet of paper, not less than 100 words. So are you ready? So you may now get your papers and pen, please. All right. So for of course, here is the rubrics of grading your work. Learning outcome. Okay. I mean critical thinking. Okay, so development of argument. 35 points. Under learning outcome, knowledge and understanding. Okay, so which is relevance and range of explanation and concepts. 40 points. For your writing skills, structure it encompasses structures of sentences and paragraphs. 35 points for a total of 100 points. Okay, so here is the first statement from our very own Miss Universe Philippines Katrina Gray last 2018. So the question was, what is the most important lesson you've learned in your life, and how would you apply it to your time as Miss Universe? Then her answer is here. I worked a lot in the slums of Tondo, Manila, and the life there is poor and it's very sad. And I've always taught myself to look for the beauty in it, to look in the beauty in the faces of the children, and to be grateful. And I would bring this aspect as a Miss Universe to see situations with a silver lining, and to assess where I could give something, where I could provide something as a spokesperson. And if I could teach also people to be grateful, we could have an amazing world where negativity could not grow and foster, and children would have smile on their faces. Okay, so that was the answer of Miss Universe Katrina Gray. So next is the first runner-up from South Africa, Tamarin Green. The same question, and then his her answer is this one. Throughout my life, I've been exposed to both those who are privileged and unprivileged. And what I've learned is that we are all human. We all want to be loved, and we all want to belong, and we all want to be seen. So we should treat each other that way. Thank you. Okay, so that was Miss South Africa. Next, the last one is from Valenzuela, Stephanie Gutierrez, the second runner-up. So the same question, and his her answer is: I grew up in a family filled with women, and each one of them taught me something very important. But I always taught my something. I mean, uh, each one of them taught me something very important, but I always remembered is that by working hard and chasing for our dreams, and by having courage and strength and willingness to achieve these dreams, we can achieve anything we want in this lifetime. And tonight I am proving this. I am here at Miss Universe. Okay, so that was their answers. So at you're only given uh 10 minutes to answer that one. You may now start. Okay, so time's up. Then this time, you may please pass all your papers. Okay, so are all papers in? So now, um, for the conclusion of our topic, okay, so for your evaluation essay to be successful in putting your point across, you need a convincing argument. It is important to thoroughly research the subject matter or have a comprehensively read and digested the body of work in question. For your essay to sound convincing, it is essential that you know what you are clear and you are clear and confident in the subject matter you are convincing. So, um, as what um, the speech we have read earlier, so there were um, involved facts that would convince to our readers. So that's it. So don't you have questions prior to the lesson that we have discussed? Okay, so if none, then for your assignment, you're going to create your own speech using these guidelines. Okay, so first, prepare, determine your topic, and get to know your audience. Second, the introduction is very essential. Then just down and attention, grabbing into introduction statements. Next is the middle or the body. Okay, then last is of course the conclusion or the end or the summary of your speech. So am I understood? Do you have any questions? Okay. If none, then here is the rubrics for your work. So here, one, if does not meet partially, two, if partially, and three, if not fully, and four, if it uh, fully meet the um, following rubrics. So content or the ideas, organization, vocabulary, sentence fluency. So anyway, I'll be giving you hard copy of this to be distributed later on. So do you have any